Hey everybody, Elizabeth Nader back with you tonight. Jersey First TV. Tonight we're going to have a great show about real estate, your houses, choices, all the things that have to do with the real estate market. I want to welcome Steve Shaw and Stephanie Mallios to the show. Steve and Stephanie, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Before we get started tonight, I think it's important for us, before we jump into this topic, to just recognize what's going on right now in this country. You know, Jersey First especially is such a big supporter of our veterans as well as our active military. We have many veterans that help us out in issues, and we're all about supporting them. So it's a tough time right now. Everybody's hearts, I know, are very heavy, and I don't want to just launch into this without taking a moment to just say to our audience, to our viewers, to the people that support us, that all of us are hurting tonight. We care about our military. Our thoughts, our prayers are with them. If each of you want to say something, I know you guys each have connections in your own way. Stephanie, your dad is a veteran?
My dad was in the Navy, and my grandfather, who emigrated here from Greece, was in the Army.
Wow. All right. So it's really close to home. Steve, do you have family in the military?
So my dad was a Korean War vet, and actually, I just lost a couple months ago. My uncle, my mother's brother, was a World War II vet.
Wow.
1 month shy of his 100th birthday, he fought in the
Wow.
Pacific in the Navy, World War
Wow.
II. And unfortunately, we lost him to COVID. He survived all that, and COVID took him.
Wow.
Heartbreaking.
Well, we thank all of them for their service. And tonight we just, our hearts are with these families that are about to get some horrific news. And as a nation, we come together in this to support our military. So I just wanted to stop there for a moment because I know a lot of people are feeling that heaviness. Tonight's show is about the real estate market. A lot of people are asking questions. You guys are answering them. And the reason you are is because you are each in the industry in your own way. So Steve, you happen to be a Morris County commissioner, which is kind of cool. We get to have you on the show, but you're also a builder, a licensed real estate agent. You've been in this industry forever. So you're here to talk about that piece of it. Stephanie, award-winning as well, a real estate agent, and you're active in Northern New Jersey and the suburbs of New York. So I'm going to start, Stephanie, with you. I just want to give a few stats along the way. I pulled this out of an article. In late July, a 3-bedroom house in East Orange, New Jersey, was listed for sale at $285,000. 97 showings, 24 offers, and it sold over contract 21%. It sold on contract 21% over the price. This story is not unusual. What have you been seeing, Stephanie, in this market?
More of those in all different price ranges, frankly. I had one in South Orange where I sold it to the gentleman 22 years ago, and he called me out of the blue and said, okay, I'm relocating to Pittsburgh. And I met with him, and he thankfully did everything I said, followed every direction. We staged it, we primed it, had great photos. We priced it at $799. And we had, I forget how many showings, but we had over 5 offers, and it sold for $999. The delta was what he paid for it. $200,000 22 years ago. He got $200,000 over his asking price.
Okay, that is a way better story than I had. That, my gosh.
And they gave him a use and occupancy for a month afterwards at no charge. So it was, amazing.
Okay, so what's going on? I mean, I know some of the things, everyone has an opinion. What do you think is going on here?
Virtually everyone who was buying it, one made an offer who was a vet, but unfortunately he was outbid by people who had a COVID wedding on the rooftop of their Brooklyn apartment. And even though they didn't have kids yet, they just thought they didn't want to be there any longer. And what we're mostly seeing is people with one kid, one on the way. They're in a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. The parents are both working from home. The kids are being schooled from home, and it's just untenable. And for a lot of people who thought last year, well, I'll go to my beach house, or I'll go to my parents' mountain house, or I'll ride out the storm in my in-laws' couch. After a couple of months, that got old, and so they rented, and now they're realizing it's still not over. So really, how are you going to live your life? So it really accelerated a lot of people's decision making by about 5 years. So
Okay. This
most
is,
people,
you're talking about New York City to northern New Jersey primarily, right? You're talking
but
about
it's everywhere. You know, it's
everywhere.
Boston, it's Austin, it's
Sure.
Chicago, it's every town that has high density living that was super fun when you aren't cooking in your little 400 square foot apartment. You're
Yeah.
going out to dinner every night, and now you can't. So now you're trapped in your four walls. And one of my best friends from New York just moved with her 6-year-old son to Summit, New Jersey, to a 2-bedroom, 1,000 square foot apartment. She's been literally in a 1-bedroom, 400 square foot apartment for many, many years.
Wow.
And it was great because every morning they got out of the house and they were in the city.
Yeah.
But now it just doesn't work.
It's not
So,
the same. Things have
no.
changed. And,
Yeah.
Steve, it's interesting, from your viewpoint as a commissioner of Morris County, you have your pulse on how the county is changing. Now, Morris County, northern New Jersey, a lot of these towns, are sort of ground zero for this incredible, hopefully it's not a bubble, but whatever's going on in the real estate market. Are you guys seeing that move in from the city? Are you seeing the demographics change?
Yes, and actually, we just got the census data. So Morris County is now over 500,000 residents. So I think we had about a 3% increase in population in the last 10 years. But yes, I mean, we actually saw for quite some time, and I've been in this business since '73, started when family business when I was 13 years
Wow.
old. And obviously, there's ups and downs. And there was a long period of time, especially with the environmental regulations that were taking place in northwestern New Jersey, the Highlands Act being the main one. We all have to move to the urban areas. That's where the future is. It's in the urban areas. The infrastructure's there, and people did that, and the younger people did that, and they did that. One primary reason was its proximity to New York and how easy it was to commute, because people would see a Route 80 or Route 78 that was like a parking lot.
Yeah.
But in addition to them experiencing during COVID, the confined space and not being able to go anywhere, they realized they didn't have to be so close to work. They could
Yeah.
telecommute.
Right.
They could work from home. So that's also an equal driver of what's really a revitalization of the suburbs.
Yeah.
And, we see it in Western Morris County. I see it in Sussex County. I mean, just a few years ago, it was very difficult to sell a house in Sussex County for almost any price because nobody wanted to be in traffic for an hour to get into Manhattan, or over an hour,
Right.
in a car. So now they don't have that hurdle. So it really has changed.
Yeah. COVID has
And
changed so much. You're right. And now the options are different. And some people who even can go back are choosing not to do so. Now, on the other side of it, Steve, in your business, in terms of remodeling or building,
yes,
all of that, anybody who's tried to do anything knows that lumber prices, plywood prices are through the roof. Now, supply and demand, guns and butter, all of us that took economics 101, we get it, right? But do we really understand what happened here during COVID that caused this? So explain to people why lumber is through the roof.
yeah. So a couple things. I don't think anybody was expecting the explosion in demand post COVID, thinking maybe a very slow recovery. But
Yeah.
what I'm seeing, and I'm actually primarily doing, I used to do development in new homes. Now I'm doing a lot of remodeling. Well, guess what we're doing? We're adding offices. We're finishing basements. We're creating another bedroom. You have most families that, their husband and wife are working from home. So they need 2 office spaces. So that is, there's a tremendous amount of demand for that, and actually making outdoor living space. That's the other big driver. I mean,
Sure.
right now, you cannot get pavers for a patio project, until Christmas time. If you order an Anderson window today, you won't get it till after Christmas. So,
Wow.
there's a lot of different theories out there. I think it's several things. And just, I use the plywood index all the time, 1/2 inch CDX. It's our staple.
Yeah.
So that was, $16 a sheet for the longest time. It went all the way up to 90. It's actually at $32 a sheet. And I know a few contractors that bought whole skids to have it. They're like, wow, it's $32. It's like, okay, but 6 months ago it was
Oh
$16.
my gosh.
And it's funny, anything with resin. So that's all of our engineered products. That's our oriented strand board.
Yeah.
Is hard to get and extremely expensive. Well, that actually is tied to the frost in Texas.
Wow.
Remember when we heard about the freezing in
I
Texas? Well,
remember.
that's where the resin plants are. I mean, I learned all of this, and there's a shortage of resin, and that's what's needed to make those. The plants were all shuttered during COVID,
Right.
and you don't just flip a switch and turn the plant back on.
Nope.
So it's a long process, and then there's no labor to operate those plants.
Yeah, let's not
Um,
forget the labor issue. I mean,
the
this,
labor issue, it's supply chain and labor.
yeah,
And now, I mean, I get contacted, beginning of the summer, and they said, we'd like to get a kitchen, so it's ready for Christmas. I said, if we start today, your cabinets will be delivered around Christmas time. So it's really a January 1 project.
wow.
So,
Wow.
as long as you're willing to plan ahead and be patient, it's a good time to be doing this work. Prices have definitely come down. They always take a lot longer to go down, and they go up in a week, and
Yeah,
they take months and months to go down.
yeah,
Do I think plywood will be back at 60? Who knows?
yeah.
And some people track the futures market. I just look at the CDX market at
That's
my lumber yard,
right,
and it's $32 a sheet today. I think it'll
right.
probably hover around there for a long time, which is a heck of a lot better than 90,
Yeah, heck of
and
a lot better.
something you can deal with.
Right. Well,
So
there are
I think
other
prices
factors.
will continue. They'll
Yeah.
be stable. But it's the time issue of having just to plan ahead.
Having to plan ahead, be patient, as you say. And also what we haven't factored in yet is inflation, because frankly, we're talking supply and demand impact on these goods. There's a whole separate conversation about what inflation may or may not do. Stephanie, the question I think that a lot of people have is move or remodel. What do I do? Which one do I do? I need more space. Do I put my home on the market and get an incredible price for it potentially? Then what do I do? Because now I have to pay an incredible price. Do I remodel? Do I move? I mean, I'm assuming people are struggling with this all the time. What do you recommend right now to people?
Well, I always say you can't be a seller in a seller's market and a buyer in a buyer's market in the same market. It
Yeah,
just doesn't work. So you have to decide what's most important for you. And I think if nothing more, this time has made everyone reevaluate what their priorities are in their life, what's most meaningful for them, what does the word family mean, what does the word home mean?
yeah,
And for many people, it's a lot of different things. There's a lot of people who are about to trade down their big house, and they're also grateful they didn't because their adult children came to live with them. And
right,
so they had their own family bubble. And so for a lot of those types of people who are definitely planning on moving, either back into New York or move to Florida, they're so happy they're here. And that's what's been the problem with the inventory, is that normally would have been at the time for them to move on. We also have other people who, yes, they'd love to remodel, but to Steve's point, you can't get the materials, you can't get the workers, you can't get anything. And I just did a huge renovation on my house a couple of years ago, and I was so glad I had my happy place of my brand new kitchen
yeah,
before this happened, or I would have torn my hair out, quite literally. But there's a lot of people who are taking their money off the table, moving to a rental,
right,
because they figure, let's just get a port in a storm, take a breather and see what happens when the storm blows over.
right,
And so the rental market is absolutely insane. And especially anything new, it's very hard to get 3-bedroom rentals. I have a lot of demand for that. To buy something, to sell now and buy now, it just depends. If you're trading up, it depends on what towns you're moving to. What we're seeing is a lot of people taking their money off the table in smaller towns like South Orange, Maplewood, or even Milburn Short Hills. And those people who felt like being on the train line was absolutely imperative, now realizing they may never return to the office. So now
wow,
they can move to Morris County, like Stephen was saying, to like a Harding Township, or further west, Mendham, Chester, or
right,
even further west than that, like Tewksbury, Oldwick areas, where those houses were being hard to move because
yeah,
the whole trend had been back to cities and back to like
right,
train line towns.
right,
And now those towns are hot again,
right.
which is just, it's a very interesting envelope that we're seeing coming around.
Yeah, I did a project in Chester Township in the early 2000s and saw those homes go from 700 to 1.3 million from 2000, the height of the market around 2006. And they took a dive actually back down to their 2000 prices, back to the sevens and eights. You couldn't move that product out in Western Morris County for a very long time, and they were very, very large homes. I always hated this term, the McMansions, and I built a lot of them, but that's what people wanted.
Or the white
But
elephant.
right, and for a while there, they were. But as Stephanie just said, not now. People They want the extra space. They've got some other family members living with them, and they can telecommute. So the commute is not an obstacle anymore to
Yeah.
living out there.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that the taxes, if you sell a house in Short Hills that has $75,000 in taxes and you buy the same house in Mendham or Chester for half the price and a third of the taxes, well, then you just bought yourself a beach house too.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
I also tell people at the end of the day, because I get asked the question all the time, and I actually love to build new homes, but I said, look, you really got to evaluate. It's as old as real estate: location, 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 and that usually is also the schools are a driver of that. I
Right,
said,
of course.
so if you feel you're in a great location, a great neighborhood, great schools, you're starting a family, stay here and add on to the house. You've always felt that you want to get to another neighborhood, another town. Just make your move.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. And I think actually parking, in a rental, actually I did that at one point in my transition from home to home.
Yeah.
And it was a smart move, just to let things settle down, settle out. So
You also have to look at money. Money is cheap right now. And that's the other thing that we don't know when that's going to change. Stephanie, with people looking at mortgages right now, what are people seeing in terms of, are they still in the threes? I guess I haven't checked it lately. It's still in the threes.
Yeah,
Money
it's
is
fantastic.
cheap.
Money's cheap.
Incredible.
And so what I'm seeing right now, Elizabeth, is that people who were thinking, well, when I die, I'm going to give my kids my money. They're like, you know what? I could die tomorrow. Let me give my kids their money now so that they can enjoy it and I can enjoy it with them. And there was a very interesting article in the Wall Street Journal a couple months ago that talked about the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of really the world is going to be coming up now, where all these baby boomers have been working and saving, and now their houses are worth a lot of money, their portfolios are worth a lot of money, and they've reevaluated their priorities to say, I want to enjoy my golden years with my family, my grandkids. I want to travel with them. I'm going to front them the money now so that they can live their best life, because we've all come to realize that life is short.
Wow.
And it's real. I mean, the prices of houses like in Austin, Texas are beyond you can't, their numbers are coming out of the phone book. You can't even count that high. There's just amazing prices going all in very interesting markets where people are like, what am I going to wait another 10 years for? I may not be here. So in a way, what I love about what's happened in this horrible time is that it has really brought people back to reality, kind of back to the Victorian era before penicillin was invented, and where life was really precious.
Yeah.
And people are seeing it that way, and they're grateful that they're alive. And so
Wow.
they want to live every day gratefully. And I just see it in all different kinds of people, really everyone I come across. They are very, very motivated. It's like a pregnant woman. I need to feather my nest. They're focused on getting or living in a place where they can raise their family and have wonderful memories.
Wow. Who knew that real estate would be so emotional? But that's I love that.
Completely emotional.
No, it is.
That is
Yeah,
a deep comment. I love that. Right, Steve?
Yes, and people are reordering their priorities for sure. And I think for a long time there, especially in some crazy rising markets, I'm talking about, a few years, a while back, people were just looking at it as an investment. And I would tell them, look, it's your home first. I mean, that's, pick it on the basis of living there and raising your family there. Not that you're going to, sell it in 3 years and what's it going to be worth.
Yeah.
100%.
Because people just thought for a long time in a rising market that, their home was an investment, and that's the only thing they looked at was the investment value of their home. But now that's completely flipped. People are like, no, this is a home. This is where I want to live. And that's the other thing. We used to think about, sleeping and eating in our homes. Now people are sleeping, eating,
Living,
have their
working,
office there.
schooling.
They're working out in their house.
Everything.
It's everything.
That's amazing. It's totally changed. I have to ask you this, Steve, about the building market, because the Toll Brothers CEO said it's the strongest market he's seen in 30 years. Is it a good time to buy building stock, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, any builder will always tell you it's a time to buy.
Yeah.
In any market.
Yeah.
I think it probably is. I mean, look, we have a strong economy. I mean, I'm really focused on this area in Morris County. It's a great place to live.
Yeah.
You really can't go wrong, in my opinion, investing in northern New Jersey at any time. But my dad, who started this business in '73, I mean, he's like, I've ridden the ups and the downs, and you just have to kind of stay the course. It will, it'll come down, it'll go back up,
Yeah.
and you just kind of try to ride the middle and prioritize and do what you need to do for yourself and your family.
Yeah.
And you got to beat them for the long term.
Morris County is strong. I have to tell you, it's great to be from Morris County. I'm proud of it. It's well run, it's strong, and you've done a lot to make sure it stays that way. Let's hope it continues to. As we wrap up, guys, I want you to give your best advice. Remember, we've got people trying to figure out buy, sell, remodel, build. What do I do? What decision do I make? So, Stephanie, your best advice as we close the show.
Well, it's your home, not just a house. And if you're spending whatever, $250,000, $500,000, $20 million, you ought to love it. So if you're only trying to buy it because you're trying to beat somebody else out of a bidding war, that's not a good way to run your life. Try and imagine your life, your future there. And let's say the market does go down. Buy a house that you could live in for 10 years, not just 5 years. So spend a little bit more to get that extra bedroom or to get that extra bathroom or to get the house with the pool that you really do want, and get the house that, let's just say things do go off the rails and you're stuck there for longer than you were hoping, you're underwater. So pick a house that you're actually going to love living in, because no one can predict the future.
So true. So true. A lot of people went underwater and they had to hang on, and hopefully they liked where they were, because that does happen. Steve, buy, sell, build, remodel. When are the prices coming down in materials? Look into your crystal ball and give everybody.
Well, if I knew when the prices were coming down materials, I probably wouldn't be talking to you here tonight. I'd be playing the futures market.
Yes.
But, like I said, it's just, you really got to do what you feel you're comfortable with in the best interest. And to me, it's all about location. Find a place where you want to be, long term. It doesn't have to be long term, but you're prepared to be there long term. And actually, but don't overextend too much.
Yeah.
But find that place. I mean, and whether the answer is, building or remodeling. I mean, building is very difficult. There's very little raw land in northern New Jersey.
That's right.
So it's mostly redevelopment opportunities that are out there now. So I would just say, really sit down and assess, what you want. Make sure you're in a neighborhood you want to be in, and as long as you're prepared to be, somewhere between short and long term, that you're okay with that investment.
Yep, absolutely. Well, guys, you know what? As an added benefit to the audience, now they have a great realtor and a great builder they can call. Little did they know we'd be adding value like that. Guys, I appreciate both of you. You have incredible insights. Appreciate you coming on, sharing those with everybody. And to all of you guys trying to make this decision, there's no perfect decision. It's whatever works for you. None of us know where tomorrow will be. And Stephanie, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of emotion now tied to home like never before. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's good that we all understand and see things differently. So Stephanie, Steve, thank you for your time. Busy that you are. We appreciate you coming on. And we'll have you back. Hopefully this bubble is not going to burst. If it does, we'll have you both back and we'll blame you.
Elizabeth, first of all, I was glad you said home, because I always correct people. It's not a house, it's a home.
Yes.
And I do just want to thank you and Jersey First for all you do advocating for our families and small businesses in New Jersey. It's really important. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, Rosemary has done a great thing. And just thank you for reminding me to tell everyone to go to jerseyfirst.org to sign the pledge. Rosemary Becky started this organization to support families, businesses in New Jersey, and to really do the right thing for everybody. It's a great state, and we need to keep it that way. So Stephanie,
Absolutely.
Steve, you guys are wonderful. We'll have you back. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to my audience, guys, we will see you all next week. Say a prayer tonight for everybody's family associated with the military, guys. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.